Poppins. When your father and I were young, we used to imagine that Mary Poppins could do all sorts of impossible things. Those things didn't really
happen.
No.
No.
Of course not.
Ridiculous.
In many ways, home video is kind of the end of the journey for a film. But I'm kind of curious about going all the way back to the beginning.
Sure.
Because I'm curious just about if you always knew exactly the story that you wanted to tell, and if there were kind of other paths that you considered with the narrative.
Well, you know, we didn't know what story it was going to be. We just knew that we were the sequel to this first film. And what does that mean? Well, there were 8 books altogether, and so we could work from the material in those books. But those books are all episodic. Fabulous characters, such unique and wonderful adventures, but no real narrative to any of them. So that's something that David McGee and John DeLuca and myself created together. We started to work on the story, you know, and I went directly to the books and saw that they were written in the 30s. And the first film took place in 1910, and I really wanted our film to take place in the time of the books, which was the 30s, the Depression era. And that sort of launched us into this idea that, well, then Michael and Jane would be 25 years older, and so we can explore what happened to Michael and Jane in the intervening years. And I did realize that we needed to come up with a major, big reason why Mary Poppins comes back.
Sure.
You know, and so she comes back to help this family who is dealing with the loss of, you know, heal and move forward.
Were there other ideas considered in that arena, or?
I mean, it sort of just naturally grew like that. I don't think you know, the story itself changed a lot, but that sort of big idea was the one we had from the very beginning.
What brings you here after all this time?
Same thing that brought me the first time. I've come to look after the bank's children.
Us?
Oh, yes, you too.
With the Blu-ray, we are going to be seeing some deleted material, stuff that didn't make it in the finished film. I'm curious if there is one element, either that you shot or that you just kind of had an ideas about in pre-production that you really wish you could have included, but just ultimately couldn't.
You know what? I would usually say yes on every film I've ever done, but in this one, no. I mean, there is a song that we had originally called The Anthropomorphic Zoo, which was part of the animation sequence, but the animation sequence was way too long, and we realized that. So we regrouped and wrote another song instead. But I will tell you something fascinating, and that is that we wrote this song because it came from one of the books about. It's about a zoo where people are in the cages and the animals are walking around with, you know, Victorian garb on and pointing at the people in the cages, and it's very funny, and it comes from the books. Well, we tried it. We wrote this song. It's there on the DVD to see with little bits of. We started some wonderful storyboarding and so forth, but we decided not to do it. Then, after we decided not to do it, I went to the archives here at Disney. And I saw that they had tried to do the same thing in the '64 version.
No kidding.
There was a song called The Chimpanzee that the Sherman Brothers wrote, and they didn't use it either. So that was the craziest thing ever.
Nice.
Isn't that crazy?
You may never play the music halls in all your wildest dreams, but billow and blast in the chimpanzee and the animals burst their seams.
Kind of just speaking to the film on a technical level as well, because just, for example, Mary Poppins flying in on those wires, but also even like the slide in the bathtub. I'm just curious kind of about the technical process of doing those scenes, because you could really just put an actor against the green screen and kind of get some of those elements done, but I'm curious just making those kind of choices.
Yeah, I try to stay away from CGI when I can. I feel it's a tool to use, but not to overuse. And I really wanted to, if I could, and we tried to do things on location. You know, Mary Poppins, her entrance is on location, and and it feels real to me. It feels more real. I think I feel the same way about the balloons at the end. You know, they all take off on a real location. You know, and I think it changes it doesn't feel so fakey. I just think it's too easy now to do it the other way. And I'm always looking in terms of from the perspective of the actor. What's going to make it work for them? You know, they don't even know where they are if they're just in a green room, you know. Here they are, Emily's making her entrance as Mary Poppins for the first time in 54 years, coming out of the clouds, you know, coming down to earth, you know. I think that informs them and makes their performance better. And I think, you know, we have kids in the film too, so they're, you know, all those reactions when they're looking up, they see it as real, you know. I don't know. I just think as much as you can make it somewhat tangible and real, the better.
Did you have to fight for that?
No.
No?
I think they understand that, you know, this is my third film with Disney that I've done. I think they get what I like to do if I can. and use CGI, you know, when you need it, but not overuse it. Yeah.
Playback.
I just also want to ask about working with Dick Van Dyke because
even
just, I mean, watching the choreography is absolutely stunning, but let alone like the emotional speech. So I'm curious just about working with him and just also directing Dick Van Dyke, just that experience.
I mean, it was a total dream come true. I mean, he came onto the set with such joy and such enthusiasm, like a child. I mean, and that's how he lives his life. He really lives the message of this film. He actually said to me as we were coming onto the set, he said, I feel the same spirit here as I did on the first film.
Awesome.
And that for me was everything, because you know that's what we were trying to achieve something like that again. And to have him bless the film and do what he did, but he's such a great actor too. And you know, when he jumps up on that desk, which is all him, everybody said, is that him? I was like, well, of course that's him. What do you mean?
It's actually, you couldn't really trick
No, that's him. And he's just, I don't know, he's an original, and Angela Lansbury's an original. You know, these people from that generation, it was such an honor to work with them.
So when they tell you that you're finished, that's the time to stand, to strike up the band, and tell them that you've just begun.
Everything is possible.
Even the impossible. Off we go.
I think the score is quite beautiful and the story is very moving, so I think it would make a beautiful, beautiful stage production.
Yeah. Would it be something that you'd be interested in being involved with?
Yeah, I feel somewhat protective of it in a funny way. So I don't know how I'd be involved, you know, but I would kind of want to just make sure it's treated beautifully. I mean, I know we worked really hard when working on this film to do it with a great deal of care and passion and love.